Okay, so we're out for a ride. It is a Friday, September 5th, 2025. Yesterday I had a bunch of appointments. I knew I wasn't going to be able to ride. I think I even mentioned it on the last video that I was not going to be out riding. But today we are. As you can tell, it's a little overcasty today. It is also a tad bit chillier, so I am wearing long sleeves. Still wearing shorts. This place right here is full of garbage, which I don't like. So yeah, we're heading north today out of the trail. I just happened to pull over because I like that bridge. I think it's very scenic. Like in a Midwest falling apart Rust Belt type scenic. In photography circles we call it urban decay. You know, out here, while we're technically still in like the Denver or Denver metro area, we could call it urban decay instead of rural, or we could call it rural decay instead of urban decay. Either way, here we are. So, yeah, yesterday I had an appointment at the spinal surgery center because I have some spine issues. And then I had an appointment with ENT, eyes, nose, throat. That was like a nail or something. Because I have a nasal issue. Yeah. So yeah, here we are. And those appointments were a couple hours apart. I went and met after my first appointment, which was fairly early, I'll admit that. It was at 8 o'clock in the morning. I had a few hours between appointments, so I sent a message to a friend of mine who lives not down that way, but she lives, you know, on that side of Denver compared to where I'm at now. So, and she works nights. So I knew it would be, you know, iffy on whether or not she'd be able to show up. But I was like, hey, I'm going to go grab breakfast at this place. And I sent her a maps link if you want to join me. And she replied back right away, yeah, I'll be there. Keep in mind, I was like still 10 or 12 miles away, and she was like 6 miles away. Like when I picked the place for breakfast, I picked one that I knew was a little bit closer to her side of town to make it easier on her. Because, you know, I'm a nice guy. I'll make it easy on people, especially if they're going out of their way to hang out with me. Somebody left one of those rental bikes down there. So I have to drive down the interstate, get off on a state highway, go south, blah, blah, blah. I get to the restaurant. And I'll be fair. I get there a little earlier than I was expecting to. I don't know how the wind's showing up, how much wind noise is getting in here. It is there's a little bit of a breeze, but it's not terrible. But yeah, there's some wind noise, and I apologize for that. One of the burdens of being outside. But I got there a little quicker than I thought I would. The interstate opened up right after I texted her. I went from bumper to bumper to moving at about 60 miles an hour, which is actually pretty good for Denver, any time of day. And then what did I do after? And then I drove down the state highway, which has, stoplights, has more than any highway should, but it's a state highway and a lot of buildup happened and whatever. But I'm like, okay, cool, there's some buildup. Maybe we'll ride through the cemetery. Have a little fun. Go see some, I was going to say, go see some dead people, but just kind of, ride through. Change it up a little bit. Go see some dead people. Not everybody can see the dead. But, and I don't believe in ghosts. So yeah, I get there a little quick. They sit me down at a table. I tell them I have a friend meeting me. I go to the bathroom. I come back. I'm looking at the menu, looking at my phone, looking at the menu, looking at my phone. Like a half an hour goes by, and I'm like, If she walked, she could have been there quicker than that. And the waitress keeps coming by. Are you sure you have friends? And I'm like, no, I promise, I have a friend. And she's like, okay. Sure thing there, buddy. And then, you know, I text my friend. I'm like, what's taking so long? She's like, oh, the maps link you sent me took me to the wrong restaurant. Because it is a chain. You know, some people might call it International House of Pancakes. And there was definitely one closer to her, but I had just driven 20 miles. She could drive 6. And if she was sleeping or didn't want to show up because she was tired from working all night, I understood. Like, you know, I get it. But she's like, I'll be right there. So, you know, after a half an hour, I'm like, okay. You know, maybe she jumped in the shower real quick or something. I don't know. But I text her again after like another 20 minutes, and I'm like, hey, you know, I've been sitting here for like 45 minutes. Where are you at? All you had to do was get on this road and go north about 5 or 6 miles, and you would be here. And, you know, about 5 minutes after I sent that, she pulled into the parking lot. She came in. And this is a friend of mine that I've known for about 2.5 years now. She started liking me. I have another video about that, but I have never uploaded it. But she started liking me, let's say romantically, and I told her when we first met, it will not be reciprocated. But she started liking me. We went about 6 months, maybe 9 months, and then she told me she liked me, and I said, yeah, that's not going to work out for me. She stopped talking to me for about 6 months, and then she caught me one day in a parking lot. She started talking to me, and I was like, okay, you know, and I was just friends with her. You know, how I would treat anybody else. Yeah, and then recently she started, and when I say recently, in the last 90 days or so, she started having fits again about any time I was not acting like her boyfriend. So I moved into this new place, which is, you know, a good 25, 30 miles from where she lives. And I was like, all right, well, this should create some distance between us. You know, I won't be seeing her in the small town because, you know, there's only so many places you can go in a small town. Especially, see, and all this garbage off to the right-hand side. And now I'm getting a phone call. It can go to voicemail. It's my friend whose daughter I took pictures of the other day. Alright, I don't know if that actually recorded during the incoming call or not. Hey puppies, what's going on? Hi. Hi. It's okay, guys. Yeah, they're just running along the fence line. They're fine. But, we'll go, yeah, let's go clockwise today. We went counterclockwise the last couple of times. We'll go clockwise today. But, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so, you know, she showed up, blah, 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 and we, you know, and then the first thing she did, she brings every conversation back to one of 3 subject matters. Every single conversation. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. She brings it back to one of 3 things. Either A, her parents. Keep in mind, she's in her upper 50s, maybe pushing 60. B, her children, which she does not talk to and who do not talk to her apparently. That's a whole other story. Or 3, her coworkers and the drama she has at her $14 an hour job. You know, she can't talk about anything else. She thinks she's an expert on religion because she grew up in a fundamentalist household. I tried to explain to her that does not make her an expert on anything except how she was raised. But she said, no, I'm an expert on religion. Okay. And then I bring out things about even her religion, and she's like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay. So leave the expertise talk at home. 1902, 1904. These are death dates, not born dates. 1904, 1914. So yeah, we're in I don't want to say an older part of the cemetery, but a part of the cemetery. And here we are at the very edge. Some people here have to deal with a light all day and night and all the traffic. That sucks. Sorry guys, I didn't put the road there. I think this is the veteran section. And they're all facing the other way, so I can't tell. They're all facing west for some reason. I don't know if there's a meaning behind that. Probably so they're not facing the train tracks to my left, which would be east. So anywho, she showed up, we're talking. Sure enough, first thing she starts talking about was, she doesn't say, I'm sorry for being late, or sorry for taking such a long time. She just sits down and gets into her coworker drama. And I'm like, I really don't care. Like, I don't work there. I don't care. But I let her prattle on. And then, I offer insights or options whenever she, gives you a chance to speak. And, invariably she goes, oh my God, I never thought of that. I never considered that. That was never something I would have, come up with on my own. You're so smart. And I'm like, yeah, here we go. She's trying to butter me up in a way that she thinks will make her seem more attractive to me. Because nothing I said was incredibly insightful or better than anything else. It was just like, yeah, just do this instead of that. Like, it's that easy. Stop covering for that coworker. If that coworker is constantly goofing off and then getting on your coworker text message group and they're constantly saying something, disparaging you on the messaging group, then stop covering for them. Stop covering when they come in late or take long breaks or when they're not doing their job. It's that easy. She's like, oh, that never even occurred to me. That dude's name is Emperor? Holy crap. And there was another one right behind it that said, the people's names were Papa and Mama. I'm sure they have real names, but yeah. So, anywho. Just simple things like that. Like, stop being the good guy if they're being the bad guy to you. Either be indifferent or, I'm sure there's ways you can throw them under the bus if you so chose. And sure enough, in our conversation, her boss calls. And I only hear one side of the conversation. I don't know what it started as, but it was like, this new employee, and I say new, this woman that I know has been working at this place for about 2 years. It's a high turnover place. Like, some people only last a few weeks, some last a few months. Barely anybody lasts a year. Barely anybody lasts more than a year. It's one of those kind of places. But she, she's like, yeah, this other coworker, she's always mean to me. She always says things to me. She tells our customers nasty things about me. Blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of doing her job for her. And I'm like, then stop doing her job. It's that simple. Like, there's nothing in your employment contract that says you have to do your coworker's job. And she's like, oh, that never occurred to me because when I was raised to always do everybody's job all the time. Like, when you were raised, you were 60-ish? So you're trying to tell me in the last 50 years, 45 years, you never considered anything other than what you were told as a child? Like, so you've never grown. You've never advanced your thinking. You've never reconsidered how you were raised. You've never done anything like that. And she's like, well, I was a mom. I didn't have time for all that thinking. Really? You didn't have time to think? Are you kidding me? So anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is she's not one of the world's great thinkers. She's an extremely nice, extremely sweet person, not one of the world's great thinkers. And I hadn't seen her in a couple weeks, and all I could think about during our lunch was, oh my gosh, there's no way in hell I could date this girl. Talking to her is like talking to a wet towel. I've had smarter conversations with my dogs. Like, seriously. So, yeah. And then she just keeps on going. Then I said something about, she goes, oh, what are you going to do now? And I said, well, I have a couple hours to kill. I might go to the library and try to get some stuff done. I also might go to the mechanic shop. My truck's making a weird noise. See if he can identify it and give me options. I've had the same mechanic for like 15 years. He's a great guy. Doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, doesn't steal. Sometimes when he can't figure something out, he does admit that he'll just start replacing parts and hope for the best, which I try to limit, because if you come in there for, you know, a fuel, not a fuel pump, but a fuel, what do you call them? Fuel filter exchange. And he's sitting there replacing parts, trying to figure out what it is. You know, that $50 fuel filter exchange, you know, turns into like $400. And don't get me wrong, it's not just him. A lot of mechanics do stuff like that. Hey, puppies. They're barking at me. That was a nail in the road. But yeah, so... And she like, and I said, oh yeah, and there's a mattress store over here. I was thinking about going over and checking out mattresses, because I was on Costco's website and they have a mattress for, it's on sale right now. Normally $1,500, down to just over $1,000, like $1,050 or something like that. It's one of those purple mattresses, and I've heard nothing but good things about the purple mattresses. So I'm like, all right, you know. But Costco doesn't have them to where you can go lay down and check them out. So I went to a local mattress store to kind of see if it was something I needed to seriously consider. And she's like, oh, well, I'll go with you. And I'm like, okay, I'm not entirely sure why you are volunteering to go with me to the mattress store when, you know, there's no reason for you to. She already said, oh yeah, I need to go to the library too, so I'll just go when you go. Well, I'll see you there or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I might go to the mattress store. And then suddenly she wanted to go to the mattress store. And then I said I might go do something else to kill half an hour. And she goes, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I'll go with you. Again, I know she likes me. And the only reason I reached out to her at all was because I know she works nights, and I knew she'd be available for a late breakfast type thing. Because we're talking 9:30 in the morning. Well, let me rephrase that. We're talking 9 o'clock when I got there. 9:45, closer to 10 when she got there. But, yeah, so fast forward. And, you know, she comes to the mattress store with me because I can't stop her without being rude and just telling her, stop freaking following me everywhere. Which is one of the reasons I'm glad I moved to the other side of Denver, because she did that. That's one of the reasons we stopped talking for 6 months, is because she started following me everywhere. I don't know how she figured out where I was going or what I was doing, other than maybe just random conversations where I said, oh yeah, I'm going to this gym tomorrow instead of that one. Which, because, you know, the gym that I go to has multiple branches, and I would go to whichever one's closest to what I planned on doing that particular day. Yep. Yep. So yeah, you can definitely smell the water treatment facility here. But yeah, so she ended up like following me, like even preempting me. You know, like I'd show up places and she'd already be there, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I just decided to come up here today. And she'd look like the cat who ate the canary. You know, like she like outsmarted me or something. And I'm like, I didn't know. So I had to tell her to stop, pardon my French, to stop following me. That it was a little creepy to be stalking me like that. And that's when she said, oh yeah, I like you. You know, I know I wasn't supposed to, but I fell for you. And I was like, yeah, you weren't supposed to. It's not going to happen. Sorry. And it has a lot to do with her, but it also has to do with me. It's just at the time, I was not in the right headspace. I'm barely in the right headspace now, but at least now I'm like, you know, I'm looking and I'm talking to people. But I need certain things out of any partner that I have. And this girl just cannot do it. And those things are, I need the ability to have intelligent conversations. You know that old quote, I think it's attributed to Eleanor Roosevelt, but it's like something like, simple minds talk about people, intelligent minds talk about events, great minds talk about ideas. I want to talk about ideas. You know, I want to have philosophical debates where people don't get mad. I want to have political discussions where we might not see eye to eye. I'd prefer we both be on the same side of the spectrum. But it's not a necessity as long as the person is intelligent and open-minded about facts and interpretation. And this girl, you know, again, 60 years old or pushing 60, somewhere around 60, and she doesn't know anything. She's like, oh, my dad just always tells me how to vote. You've been through like 2 husbands, maybe 3, I don't even remember. You have children, and your dad still tells you how to vote? She's like, well, I never thought about it. Are you kidding? You never grew up. You never left your parents' house. Everything you did, everything you still do to this day is, this is what my parents wanted, aside from going to church. Yeah, and I can't handle that. I mean, even in the hour, well, we actually ended up spending like 2 hours together yesterday. But even in that short period of time, even before we left the breakfast place, I kept thinking, there's no way. Not even an option. Plus, she's 60, or pushing 60, 58, 60, somewhere in there. I'm probably going to keep saying 60 because I really don't know. But she's mad because her hair hasn't gone gray. Most women would love to not be gray, naturally. And you're complaining that you don't have grays? She's like, I want my grays. I want my grays. I earned them. Like, seriously? Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, frick, another gray? Are you kidding me? At my age? How do I have grays? But then I look at other people my age and I'm like, how do you look so old? Seriously, being healthy and everything isn't difficult. So there's a bridge up here that we're going to cross, and I think after the bridge I'm going to stop because the camera's vibrating itself. I don't want to say loose, but it's definitely doing that thing where it's not where I set it originally, and I want to readjust it. It's not in danger of falling out at the moment, but if I don't pay attention to it, it might be in the coming future. Oh. Maybe there wasn't a bridge right up here. I thought we were on the other side of the highway up there. Alright, well. So, for what that's worth. This is relatively flat and smooth, so I'm not worried about it too much, but I will be stopping to adjust this. But you can see, even on a cooler day, I mean, I think it's only supposed to get up to 70 degrees today, but the overcast is keeping it a little cooler. You can still see how many people are out and about. We're just an active people here in Colorado. Even in the wintertime, you'll see people out for runs, out for bicycle rides. I used to. Back when when I had a dog, I was out, all the time because I didn't feel that dogs needed to be inside all the time. So we went to the dog park, and my first dog, we weren't running. Didn't matter. 4 o'clock in the morning, go for a run. 3 degrees outside, come back covered in ice. Because you sweat and the sweat freezes. Didn't matter. Ice and snow on the ground, cool. Ice and snow on the ground, we'd go. So fast forward, we get back to the other subject. Yeah, she ended up following me around, and then I finally told her, I said, well, I'm going to go to the mechanics, fully expecting her to say, oh yeah, I'll come with you. But I was like, yeah, and I'm only going to be there for a minute, because he's just, I just want him to listen to the noise. And then I'm going to go back to the VA. And she's like, oh, well, I guess I can go do this thing at the library by myself. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good call. Because we are not on the same page here. And then I texted her something I ran across that I thought she might be interested in. But yeah. But I didn't invite her over. I didn't like put out not a fig leaf, an olive branch. I didn't put out an olive branch to her or anything like, hey, do you want to hang out this weekend or anything like that? Yeah. So she's probably wondering if I found somebody else. And the answer is no, I haven't found anybody else. But the longer answer is, yes, I'm looking, and I don't need, not looking per se, but open to the idea. That makes sense? Like, I'm not asking out every girl I meet because I want somebody who'll say yes, but I'm keeping my eyes open for, if something happens. If. These are the bridges that I said I'd stop at, so. But actually, that one right there, the bicyclists are on, or the one I was thinking of, but we'll come right over here to this platform. But yeah. I have talked to girls, I haven't asked anybody out yet. But, like I said, I'm just kind of keeping my eyes open and, almost at a place where I think I can be the guy that a woman wants to be with. I'm still a little self-centered, but I also understand where other people are coming from a lot. So let me adjust this a little bit. I'm going to try, I have to unlock it. There we go. Adjust it over. There we go. Because I'm hoping where I have it set, it also minimizes the shake, and I don't need so much shake reduction. And now we're gonna go. Because again, we're just worried about distance here, not time. So yeah. But needless to say, my nose problem is apparently genetic. While I don't have a deviated septum, I have another part of my nose that grew a little crooked. And the doctor's like, yeah, we can fix it surgically, but it will be a major surgery. Like, it'll almost be a rhinoplasty. Not 100% sure what a rhinoplasty is. I know it has something to do with cosmetic surgery, but I don't know what the details are. But he gave me an option. He's like, yeah, he goes, we can try this. It's less expensive. It takes longer. It'll take a while. But if you do this, basically it's a steroid solution. If you do this, then it will minimize that growth. Not the growth, but the curvature of the interior of my nose. Because I have a really hard time breathing out of my right nostril. And he showed me on the thing as he stuck the scope up there. He's like, see this one? See how much space you have? Now look at this one. I was like, oh crap, that looks like it's swollen or fell over or something. He goes, yeah. He goes, it just grew crooked. Here's your MRI. Here's what we're looking at. Here's that piece I said that was crooked. That's 100% genetic. I was like, oh, okay. Which, the only time... Well, usually when I exercise, I'm breathing out of my mouth, so it's never been that big of an issue. But I've noticed in the last 10 years or so that it gets harder to breathe when I'm just like breathing with my mouth shut, like super cold, and I don't want the cold air in my lungs. Or if I'm sick, this is the big one. When you have that stuffy nose, and when you have that stuffy nose, you can't and a lot of times, it'll stuff on one side or the other, but you can't one side just won't unstuff. But I think it affects my sleeping because I don't get enough oxygen in my sleep. So that's why I want to do it, is to try and increase my sleeping so that, because I don't get the, they say like 6 to 8 hours a night for an adult. I don't get that every night. It's very rare that I get anything even close to that. And then they say deep sleep. Well, I rarely, even less, get deep sleep. Even I have one of these Smart Enough watches. It's the Garmin. So you can't talk to it to send voicemails or tell it to call anybody. But it will give you output. So it'll tell you a text message came in, it'll tell you a call's coming in, it'll tell you what you're listening to or watching or whatever. It'll also give you feedback about your heart rate and your blood pressure and, was it blood pressure or, no, beats per minute. I don't have the one that'll tell you your blood pressure. But, it does stuff. I've had it for a couple of years. Actually, this November, I think. I bought it on Black Friday a couple years ago. I think it'd be 3 or 4 years that I've had this watch. But I look at my, beats per minute, like when I'm sleeping, like, that rest beats per minute. And my resting beats per minute are actually really good. Like when I'm sleeping, according to this watch, my heart rate will get down to like 45 beats per minute. Even when I'm sitting in a chair and not doing anything, I'll hover, in the mid to low 50s. Don't get me wrong, my heart rate does get up. I mean, I get it up to, 130, 140 at the gym every day. I could go higher, but I don't want to put that much effort into it. I honestly don't. I mean, I just want to, go about my life and be relatively healthy. But I do these bike rides because I wanted more cardio, because I wanted better. At my age, I don't want to have a heart attack, because I looked at a can of whipped cream or something. So we'll go this way again just because it's more fun. But yeah. So that's what's going on with me medically. I mean, it's, aside from some pain, it's really the only thing going on with me medically. Last time I was at the primary care physician with general practice, the VA calls it primary care, but she actually put the stethoscope on my chest and she's like, oh, you have a nice, strong, slow heartbeat. And I'm like, yeah, I told you, I work out all the time. I watch what I eat. I'm as healthy as I can be, without having without being one of these rich guys that has that personal trainer guru guy that, gives them the right food all the time. Basically, because I don't want to have to go to the store and buy the right food all the time. Sometimes you want chips, not grapes. Sometimes you want a greasy hamburger, not a soy burger. You know what I mean? But I try to eat as healthy as I can. I've known guys my age and younger who were the meat and potatoes type. I only eat meat and potatoes. I only eat steak. I only eat red meat. And a lot of these guys are, they're not growing up very healthy. But I had a lot of family members, especially on my mom's side, because I don't know my dad's side that well. But on my mom's side of the family who, died in their 50s from preventable issues. I think I had 2 uncles die from heart disease or heart attacks in their 50s. I had a couple more that had cancers. Now, as far as I know, I'm cancer-free. But cancer does have its hold in my family. My mom's last living sister just died from cancer last year. Lung cancer that spread to her brain. But she was a lifelong smoker. So while I'm not saying the smoking did it, I'm saying the smoking definitely contributed. So that kind of thing. And then, my other uncle, my mom's last surviving brother, who's not even 70 yet. I think he turned 70 this year, or 69 or 70 this year. But he already had his cancer scare. He had colon cancer. So now he's been living with a colostomy bag for like 10 years now. He still gets around, still does his still, he owned his own business. He still did his business and everything. He just had the colostomy bag. Yeah. And his wife was one of those health nut people who counted calories. So, he wasn't allowed, it's not like he lived a bad life other than drinking and smoking. Because everybody in my mom's family was a smoker. I think everybody in my dad's family was a smoker at one point. Which is why I never smoked. I hated the smell. I hated the fact that, you could be in the middle of playing catch with your parents or an uncle or something, and they're like, hold on, I need a cigarette. It's like, you don't need a cigarette, you want a cigarette. It's called an addiction. I didn't know how to say that when I was 12, but I know how to say it as an adult. And I tell people that. Like, you don't need that, you want that. It's called an addiction. The trick is to replace bad addictions with good addictions. Because you have, there's a certain personality type that is addiction prone. Like even the girl I used to live with, she was a smoker. I say was. I think she might still be. I don't know. I've only talked to her a couple times since we parted ways. About 5 or 6 years ago now. Oh, 7 years. Holy crap. 2018. It's 2025. But I don't think there's a nice smooth downspout here. I think I'm going to have to go over the curb. But she, definitely going to have to go over the curb because we end. Oops. But she had an addictive personality. She smoked and she drank, apparently drank more than I thought. That was part of our issue. Not that she drank, but because I didn't know how much she was drinking. I mean, I knew she drank more than I did, don't get me wrong. She, would get off work and have her few glasses of wine, or maybe finish a wine bottle or something. And she's like, oh, I'm just trying to decompress. I'm trying to relax. Okay, which I already thought that was enough. But then it turns out she was actually hiding alcohol from me, which I didn't find out until like years later. She'd hide it in the cabinet in the bedroom or under the sink and, all those places where people hide alcohol. It wasn't until we were moving out and into a new place that, we were cleaning out the bedrooms and stuff, and I found like bottles of vodka that were hidden on her side of the bed, either in the little cabinet there or under the bed or whatever. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't know it was that bad. I don't know if she still drinks or not. I know she dated a guy, and the guy she ended up marrying was an alcoholic. He actually ended up going to AA. Whether or not he's still in it, I don't know. Whether or not he's still sober, I have no idea. I just know that since we parted ways, she put on a lot of weight, and last time I saw him was at an event, just an open event. Apparently she dragged him to, and he went from skin and bones to, a little chubby as well. So, but she's also a great cook. Don't get me wrong. That's one of the reasons I put on weight. It's because she's a great cook. I do miss that. Because I can make stuff, but I don't have that palate to know, like, oh, it needs a little rosemary, it needs a little paprika, it needs a little mustard seed. I don't have that palate. I just make stuff. Like, I got back from the gym today and I made, just a little cheese. I'm gonna call it an omelet, but somebody else told me it's called something else. Basically, I scramble the eggs, put it in the pan, let it firm up, flip it. Then I put in whatever I want for like omelet materials. In this case, it was just cheese. And then I fold it over, let it cook to melt the cheese, flip it one more time so that everything is nice and good, and then eat it like that. I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but, and then I made some sausage with it. And it was good, I made the eggs a little spicy, added some pepper, added some Carolina Reaper cheese. The sausage that I cooked were actually hot links, so spicy sausages. And I used the fat from the sausages to cook the eggs, so it still had a little bit of spiciness to it. So yeah, it was really good, but it's a little bit more basic than how she cooks, or how she cooked anyway. I don't know how she cooks currently. But yeah, it's all about, I think I was getting on a health kick talk. It's all about being a little bit healthier, trading bad habits for good habits. You know, because I did that a long time ago. Back when life was a little bit more comfortable, when I had a good job and I had a good place to live, and I didn't worry about anything because I'm like, you know, I'm on top of the world, that kind of mentality. But, you know, when I was hungry, instead of eating, I'd do sit-ups. You know, if I was hungry, if I wanted a snack, instead of grabbing a bag of chips, I'd grab a glass of water. Because I read somewhere that more often than not, when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty. But our bodies were telling us we're thirsty and we weren't drinking. So then it tells us we're hungry and for certain things, and you know, pay attention to what you're hungry for, because your body's probably telling you you're thirsty. Like a lot of fruits and vegetables have a lot of moisture in them. So if you're craving that, you're probably more thirsty than you are hungry, that kind of thing. So, you know, if you're smoking, you just got to say, okay, I need a cigarette, what can I do? Oh yeah, let me take dog for a walk. You know, oh, I'm craving a cigarette, what can I do? Well, let me go over here and use the kettlebells for a minute. That kind of thing. You just have to trade a bad habit for a good habit. Now, she not only smoked and drank, but apparently she liked to gamble, which was fine. She wasn't crazy about it. Sometimes she'd go up the hill into the mountains over there. There's a couple little gambling towns. And she'd come back the next day and say, oh yeah, I lost $200. Okay, well, considering how much she made, $200 was nothing. And then sometimes she was like, oh yeah, I went there and I was down $150, and then things switched and suddenly I'm up $2,000. It's like, even better. Heck yeah, congratulations. And some, you know, more often than not, it was, yeah, I broke even. You know, I spent 10 hours gambling and I was up and I was down and I was up and I was down. But when I broke even, I decided it was time to quit. I'm like, okay, cool. Because that's actually something I taught her. You know, from like poker nights and stuff. It's like, take your money, whatever it is, you know, $50, $100, $200, and make sure you come home with that. So everything else, if you win, great. We're going to turn around right here because there's no reason to go any further. But I'm already at the 10-mile mark. But she started taking on that. She's like, yeah, she goes, you know, when I was up, I'd put that money away, whatever I came with, whatever I started with, and I just play with my winnings until the winnings ran out. And I was like, good. I mean, yeah. That way you're not actually losing. I mean, you're losing money, but you're losing their money, not your money. It's just a good habit. I mean, sometimes, yeah, we've all done it. Like, I used to have a policy where I would bring a $20 bill out to the bar with me. This was back when you could get a beer for like $3. And then you leave a little bit of a tip. So say $4 per beer, that's 4 beers, 5 beers. Or like, you know, a couple Jack and Cokes or whatever. Depending on, you know, what the night entailed. But I always made it a point of only bringing X amount of money, and that's what I was going to spend. And then I noticed there were times where I'd get a little drunk and I'm having a good time and didn't want the party to end. So, you know, I'd put another drink on or another drink on. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to have to stop that. Actually, I'm going to go across over here because that looks like a little thing and I want to go check it out. Again, we're exploring. And I don't know what's rattling so much. Might be the kickstand. So I've seen people over here, but I didn't know what was over here. Because it looked like they were all, yeah, okay, so there's a disc golf field right here, which is cool. You know, people got to play, and you know, if they want to play, that's up to them. It's not bothering me a bit. I'd rather them play in an actual disc golf field than go to a park and try to throw their discs and hit a kid or an old lady in the back of the head. But yeah, this is what I saw, was this these boulders and stuff that were set up here. I thought maybe it was a little amphitheater. Like, you know, we'll have concerts in the park here, or we will do whatever here, but apparently it's just a wall. I didn't plan on going this way, but I couldn't turn where I wanted to, so now we're looking for a turn. to take us back over. I'm not seeing a turn. And I'll show you what I'm looking for. I'm just cutting across the ground right now. But you see these kind of, like right here in front of me. You see where the walkway thing is? That's an organic path. That's a path that's just created by people organically going in that direction. I was looking for something like that would turn me around, so I didn't have to pave my own path. So, anyway. Yeah, it was just, yesterday was a funky day. I got back. I had to sit in traffic for a while because my 3 o'clock appointment got out at like 3:20. Wasn't very late. But then I had to go to the pharmacy at the VA, and while they have a big sign there that says if it takes longer than 45 minutes, please let somebody know, it took over an hour. Because you have to check in. Okay, that starts the clock. Then you have to wait for your number to be called. Then you have to go tell the pharmacist what you're looking for. What the doctor prescribed, or I never noticed that. Let's go check that out. That's what the doctor prescribed, or refill, or whatever the case may be. And then, you have to go wait for your name to be called. And this is the long part. So, yeah, I never knew this little dock was here. Or not dock, but pier or whatever was here. Takes you out over the water. That's kind of cool. Nice and wide. I'm surprised there's nobody fishing over here. Looks like a traffic cone or something in the weeds. Not the weeds, the reeds. Well, yeah. And then, ended up waiting. They finally called me. So then they call your name. And then you have to go that's when you get another ticket, like, one of those grab a ticket and wait to be seen type situations. So you have to grab 2 tickets, one to be seen to tell them what you want, and one to pick up. So it's a process. I understand why they do it, but it's a little cumbersome, and I keep wondering if there's a more efficient way to do it. Now they do tell you all the time, they can mail the medications to you, which is all fine and dandy, but I was already there, and I was like, let me just pick them up while I'm here instead of waiting, 5 days to a week for medications to arrive. So, so anywho, I ended up sitting in traffic a lot yesterday. Got back around 5:30, which was fine. Yeah, that was my day yesterday. It was a busy day, but it was also kind of a lackluster day. And a little bit frustrating. So. And then, so for weeks now, I've been I have a friend that lives up in the north side of Denver. She moved there, she bought a house. After COVID, she had a very lucrative career during COVID, and she was actually able to start her own business and make decent money. She told me flat out, she goes, COVID's been great for business. And then she told me because I knew she had hung her own shingle, but I thought it was just her. She's like, nope, I have like 12 people that work for me now. I have this, I have that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Good for you. And she bought it wasn't a very expensive house, but location made it expensive, if you understand what I mean. And it's a nice place, but I haven't seen her in a few years because her life, was skyrocketing and my life had stalled. So I was like, I don't need a pity party or anything. So I was just trying to make the best of the direction my life had taken. But she lives up here, and I drive by where she lives all the time, unless she sold and moved. But I've been thinking about reaching out to her to say, hey, let's hang out. We'll go back up there and go back on that dirt road. I'm saying that because I think the turnoff is right here somewhere. Oh, there's a brown spout there. I guess I could stay on the thing here, but That will go up in the dirt. But yeah, unless she moved or something. But I haven't followed her. I haven't logged on to Facebook in years. I think this November will be like 5 or 6 years since I've logged into Facebook. I upload photos occasionally to Instagram. I think I talked about that the other day, where I use the Windows app, which is very limited. It literally just lets you upload. That's it. Okay, so here's an up thingy. But will it take me around? I think I'm gonna have to get off. Oh no, maybe I can. We'll see. Okay, here we go, 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 here we go. Oh, nope, stairs. Not what I wanted. Oh, but I'm not gonna turn around. We'll just go down. I had to get off the bike for that. Because, like I said, the suspension on this is there, but it's not great. And I didn't want to risk anything. Oh, somebody left boots. Okay. Makes me wonder if somebody left boots, or if somebody's here fishing or whatever, and they took them off so they didn't get them messed up. They just left the boots there. But anywho, yeah, I couldn't for the life of me. I mean, I was struggling to remember her name because I haven't talked to her in like 5 years. Picture her face. I could go through conversations she and I had in the past. I remember the last time we talked. I remember being at her house. I could point out her house to you. I could not remember her name. I kept thinking it starts with an M. It starts with an M. It starts with an M. I'm like, but it's not Melissa. It's not Michelle. It's not anything, offbeat like Magda or Maleficent or anything. And this is a pretty girl, and she's a smart girl. I'll admit, I had a little crush on her when we first met, because she was almost everything that I was looking for. She was intelligent. She was outgoing. Not outgoing as in like a extroverted personality, but willing to do things she'd never done before. Willing to explore. She was very friendly. I actually met her through other people. Yeah, she likes dogs. Not as much as I do, but she likes dogs. I was actually really upset to find out that, because I house sat for her once when she was on vacation, and she had 2 dogs. Some kind of hound dog, I forget what kind, but a tall one. Not like a basset hound or a beagle or anything, but like a taller dog. And she had a husky. And I house sat for her, fed her dogs and her cat and stuff while she was out of town. And then, so the last time I saw her, I asked how her dogs were doing. She goes, "Oh, I gave them up." Like, what do you mean you gave them up? She goes, "Well, I got so busy I didn't have time for them anymore. So I gave them to a friend of mine." It's like, okay, well, hopefully your friend is treating them right. I mean, there's nothing in the universe that'll get me to give up my dog. Nothing. The police could show up and be like, "Oh yeah, we have to take your dog because it bit that nasty child over there that kept poking it in the butt with a hot poker." And I'll be like, "Yeah, dog was absolutely in the right to bite that child." They're like, "Oh yeah, no, we have to take it and put it down." I'll be like, "Nope. My shotgun says you need to go." Yeah, I'm not taking my dog. Are you kidding me? But yeah, so I think she still had a cat the last time I saw her. But yeah, I mean, she was great. Like I said, I had a little crush on her, and I admit it. But she always, talked about guys she liked to date, and none of them were me. So, and then even the last time we saw each other, she had said something about, and I wasn't looking to hook up with her or anything, but I was like, if she's open to it, yeah, I'd explore that possibility. But, she had admitted that she likes Eurotrash dudes. You know who I'm talking about. The kind that think they're inherently better because they're from some obscure Eastern country. They always wear Adidas head to toe. or, you know, some kind of tracksuit head to toe. They always wear, you know, something with a label. And, you know, they drive BMWs and Mercedes and stuff because that's what they drive over there. And they're like, oh, see, I'm better than you. You know, I am the DJ at this club. I make good money. I know a lot of people. I'm better than you. I'm a wholesaler for screws and nuts and bolts and stuff. I'm better than you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely not a Eurocrash. She had a friend over that day. It was a little party thing that she was having. I think there were like 6 or 7 of us. And she had a little friend, and her friend and I talked. Her friend was recently divorced and had like 4 kids and blah, blah, blah. And she was looking for something I'm not, so. Not that I can't play a father figure. But she was looking for like a certain type of person. And I was just like, yeah, you're pretty and all, and I wouldn't mind dating you, but I can't be what you're looking for. It would violate my core tenets of who I am. And that, I think, is the tricky spot. Because I think a lot of people sacrifice who they are to be who they think they want their partner wants to be. Who they think their partner wants them to be. And they end up in relationships that they don't like. Like, let's go back to this girl I had breakfast with yesterday. I could call her up today and say, you know what, I thought about it. You know, I think you and I should date. And she'd be over the moon. Absolutely. But I would have to sacrifice what I need in order to be with her. And I'm not willing to do that, and I think a lot of people do. Like, for example, I have a friend, old Army buddy. He was with the same girl for like 17 years, off and on. They broke up a lot. Like a lot. Like, they date for 6 months, and they break up for a month, and then they date for 4 months, they break up for a couple of weeks. Then they date for a year, and they break up for, 6 months. Whatever. They were constantly breaking up. But even he started talking about marriage. He's like, yeah, I'm going to have to marry her. It's not fair of me to keep treating her like this. It's not fair of me to keep dragging her along. He's like, but I just don't like her that much. I like her family more than I like her. I get along great with her family. I like her sister. If her sister would go out with me, I'd trade her in for a heartbeat. Or in a heartbeat. And to be fair, none of us friends liked her. She was just that woman who needed to control her man. Like, tell him what he can and cannot do, who and who he cannot be friends with, how and when he could dress, and what they were going to do on their off time. She had to be in control constantly. Personally, I think he's into that. I think he likes somebody else to be in charge. But he ended up, one of the times that they were broken up, he ended up meeting a coworker's wife and ended up getting a crush on his coworker's wife because they had a lot in common. She was the little redneck princess he always looked for. She wanted to go jeeping. She wanted to go to Country Fest. She wanted to go not hunting because he didn't hunt, but go shooting. She wanted to ride the 4-wheeler. She wanted to go camping. While the other girl was a little bit more prissy. She's like, I don't want to go camping. I don't know why you want to go out on the Jeep. You shouldn't go jeeping on Saturday. You should spend Saturday with me. That kind of thing. So he found his little redneck princess, and he was happy as could be. Turns out she was actually the same way. I'd met her a few times when she was married, and she seemed nice enough. But when they started dating, I really got to know her. And she is like super controlling, super bitchy, super everything. And it's like, and those of us who were his friends, like lifelong friends, like people we were in the military with, and people we had known for a decade or more, all pulled away. They're like, yeah, we want nothing to do with her. And he's not a fun person when she's around. That looks a lot like my bike, except my bike's green. And I have the step-through style, and he has the bar in the middle. I wanted the step-through style because, again, I have the aforementioned back issues, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to throw a leg over the seat all the time. Yeah, I'm doing like 16.5 miles per hour, 17, 16.5, 17. Yeah, so right in there. So I could go faster if I wanted to, but it's not about the speed. It's about the pumps. Pump, leg pumps. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah. But he married this woman and ended up, well, even before they were, well, one, she was still married, going through a separation, but she was still married when he moved her into his house. And he was all proud of it too. He's like, oh yeah, she came with a camper, and she came with a truck, and she came with her own motorcycle. It's great, you know, blah, blah, blah. I have all these things now. It's not, oh yeah, she's the love of my life, or my God, dude, we get along so great. It's like effortless. It's, we have all these things now, which shows you where his priorities are. He likes things. He likes possessions. And that's how he's always been. He always wanted stuff. But, so I think he thinks of his wife and his now kids as stuff. But anywho, they never broke up, but he told me a few times that he's probably going to break up with her because she's a lot meaner than he thought she was. Because when she's married, when she was married and he just had a crush on her, she didn't, he didn't see behind the scenes that much. He heard from her ex-husband because they worked together. He would talk about his wife and all the problems they had, but I guess he just wrote it off. Maybe blame the husband instead of the wife. But he got together with her and he realized the husband was correct. She had issues. She had control issues. She had trust issues. She had alcohol issues. And I saw that one firsthand. He actually told me once. I went over to his house and we were having, he invited me over for dinner. And we were hanging out outside while she was cooking. And I was like, so how's it going? Because they'd only been living together for a few months at this point. And he goes, oh, it's fine. She's actually wonderful. I love being with her when she's sober. When she's drunk, she's a mean drunk. And I saw that firsthand at his 40th birthday. Now keep in mind, he's older than me. So this was a few years ago. But I rode my motorcycle over to his house, I hadn't planned on drinking because I don't drink when I'm on the motorcycle. There's too many risks. And so, I'm literally maybe the only sober person at the party. And I get there about 7 p.m. It started somewhere around, 4 or 5. But he did say, it was going to be a lot of families and people with kids that came first. And then the more single people or the people that wanted to party a little harder come a little later. So I came a little later. Not that I had planned on partying, like I just said, but I didn't really need to be around families and stuff. Like, that's not my scene. I don't have any kids. I'm not married. I didn't need to be around that crowd. I wanted to be around the party crowd. Again, this was a few years ago. So fast forward, she apparently got drunk before I even got there because around 8 o'clock, she was glassy-eyed. Like, I had heard that term before, but I had never seen it. She was glassy-eyed. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And then around 9 p.m., she started screaming and yelling that everybody needed to get out, that the party was over and she was done with it. She didn't want anybody in the house. And she picked up pots and pans and started throwing them at guests and at the birthday boy, my friend. Somebody had brought him a cake from a store. She took the cake and threw it across the room. Get out, get out, get out, screaming like hysterically, get out, get out, get out. And he had a few drinks in him too, and he's like, you need to stop. I'm tired of your bullshit. I'm tired of everything. I'm tired of all this. I don't know why they're walking. Well, maybe they're nicer than I am. But yeah, to the point where, you know, she actually attacked him a few times. Like, ran up to him, punched him, hit him in the back of the head, pushed him, things like that. Oops. I guess we're stopping.
This is below ground 17, or, yeah, 17.5.
Because I'm not with them.
Oh, yeah. 27.
How's it going?
Oh, no worries then. Okay.
I'm gonna squeeze right through there. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But yeah, she started hitting him and coming after him and threatening him, and he was yelling at her, yeah, I'm tired of your crap, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that, you need to get out of my house, you need to pack up your shit and go, I'm tired of dealing with it, blah, blah, blah. And this went on. Again, I was the only sober person. And by 11 o'clock at night, it was only old army buddies and like really old friends, people he had known for like a decade or more that were there. And, you know, maybe all in all, maybe 10 of us. And I finally, at like 4 a.m., she was still going. He was hiding. Like a friend that he was friendly with, a guy that I'd met a few times, but the guy's kind of a tool. But his friend had actually like taken him down the street and put him in a random car and said, stay here so she can't find you. You know, just to kind of protect him, which was good. Because, you know, if the police ever showed up, it would, you know, be he said, she said, and, you know, they always side with the woman first. So finally at about 4 a.m., I call the police. I'm like, this is bullshit. The only reason I stayed as long as I did was because I was a sober one, and I felt they needed a non-inebriated witness if anything should happen. So I finally called the police, and I'm like, look, this is going on for hours. She's throwing things, she's punching people. She busted one guy's lip open because he grabbed her from behind to pull her off my friend. And this was a big dude. He was probably like 6'3", you know, probably pushing 250 to 275 pounds. Like, he was a big dude. He grabbed her from behind to pull her away, and she used her head and popped him in the face and ended up busting his lip open, stuff like that. She was out of control. And I was like, holy crap, is this what he was talking about with when he said, she's much, you know, she's mean, she's a mean drunk? I've known mean drunks, people who got drunk and wanted to start fights. But I'd never seen anything like this. So, yeah, I called the police, I explained to them what was happening. They showed up. First thing they did was come down on him. What'd you do? Did you hit her? Did you push her? Did you stop? Did you do this or that? And I'm like, and I'm standing there and I'm like, look, dude, no, he did none of that. And he's sitting there like, and this embarrassed me a little bit. The police showed up and he went to parade rest. Now, for those of you who are not military, parade rest is a submissive stance where an inferior will stand in front of a superior by rank. Not by qualifications, but by rank. He went into parade rest, which I was embarrassed by. Because we were both 10 years out of the military at that point. And I'm not going to parade rest for anybody. I am my own person. I have grown. But he went to parade rest, and they're going after him, and I'm like, look, no, he did none of that. As I said when I called, she attacked him. She's been chasing him around. And by this time, one of our military friends, it was a wife of a guy that we served with, but we've known him since, he's known him longer than I have, but I knew them since 1997. She had already cleaned up his house, like picked up the stuff that she had thrown around, cleaned up the kitchen, picked up the cake, you know, swept, mopped, done all that kind of maintenance stuff. And I was like, no, don't do it. She needs to pick that up tomorrow morning when she sobers. Or he does. They need to see that this behavior has consequences, even if all it is a messy house. And she's like, no, it's the least I can do to make their lives a little easier. But I think that screwed them because it didn't look like stuff had happened. So they interviewed me, and I told them, I said, look, I'm sober, I'm on a motorcycle, I haven't had anything to drink. This is what I witnessed, and this is out of line. This is total BS. Turns out everybody else that was there lied. Said, oh no, there was no big deal. It was just a little argument. It wasn't that big of a thing, because they didn't want her to get in trouble. And I'm sitting there like just dumbfounded. Like, are you kidding me? No, this kind of behavior needs repercussions. This isn't, I went speeding a little bit. This isn't, my grass got half an inch too long for the HOA. This isn't, I believe in smacking children as corrective action. This was like bonkers ridiculousness. This wasn't throwing his stuff out the window or out the front door telling him to get out. This was him. This was her attacking people, attacking him, leaving bloody, leaving one guy's face bloody, throwing stainless steel pots and pans at various people, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm sure he was embarrassed to go to work the next day because, a lot of people that were there were his coworkers. And I'm sure it embarrassed her when she had to be around those people. Hopefully it embarrassed her when she had to be around people that, those same people later in life. But he ended up marrying her anyway. Cops did nothing because they had conflicting stories. I did not record it on my phone at the time. I had like a little, I think I had the T-Mobile G2. Remember that? The second Android phone. It was had a little flip-out keyboard. I think like a 3 megapixel digital camera or something. I didn't record any of that out of respect for him, and I regret that. That should have been recorded. I don't know if anybody else did, but that should have been recorded, and I regret not having documentation of that event so I could show the police, no, they're lying to you. This is what happened. Because they were stewards of her brother's children. Like, her brother was going to jail or was in jail for like meth or something, and crack, something like that. And they were the guardians of the children. And I was like, children don't need to be around this. Children were at grandma's house that night, and she lived about 20 miles south. But children did not need to be in that environment. Which was one of the reasons I called the police. Well, next time I talked to him, I gave him a couple days to, recover from any kind of hangovers or anything. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh yeah, it's fine. We're still trying to recover from that little fight we had. And I'm like, nah, it wasn't a little fight, dude. That was a full-blown breakdown. And he's like, yeah, ooh, snake. I hope I didn't hit it. It was a little one, maybe 6 inches. And I was very close to hitting it. I hope I missed it. But yeah, it was weird. Like, you hear stories like that, but you don't see stories like that. You know what I mean? But I've had a lot of that in my life recently where you hear things, but you don't, like where I'm living right now. There's a lot of people with mental illnesses there. And you hear about mental illnesses, and you might see it on Law and Order. You might see it on NCIS. You might see it in a movie or something. The mental illnesses. But it's a whole different thing to live around these people where you have to be on guard all the time about if that's safe to say, if that person's safe to talk to. Because I've seen people break out in fights just because somebody didn't say hello to somebody else in the parking lot. And it's like, there's no reason to fight over that. Well, he didn't say hi to me and I deserve that. That kind of thing. And then, you compound it with the drugs and alcohol that are going on in this building, which was supposed to be a sober building. It was supposed to be no drugs, no alcohol. But apparently everybody has them. So, and it's just a month-to-month place for me. I've only been there a month. Like I said, I can move out anytime. But I got to keep to myself and not really become friends with too many people because I'm a friendly person. This is where we started the ride, by the way. I'm a friendly person. I chat with my neighbors. I always have. It's a vestige from being in the military where, everybody in your unit lived in the barracks with you or whatever, all the single people anyway. So your neighbors are all your coworkers and friends. And I've always done that since then. I've always been friends with my neighbors, or at least, friendly with them. Plus, it's my philosophy that if you're friends with your neighbors, you guys look out for each other. If you see, if somebody gets broken into or a weird car or whatever, you guys talk. You share information. So he actually ended up marrying this woman. I went to the wedding. The girl I brought was the woman I used to live with. And she came up to me at the reception and said, yeah, she just, apparently the bride had a few drinks in her and she was starting to get to the mean phase. And she goes, yeah, she just came up to me and told me I have to get out, that I have to go, that she doesn't want me there. So I'm leaving. You can stay if you want. I'll come get you later if you need to, but I have to go. And I was like, no, we'll go together. So then my friend comes over and he's like, hey, we're all going over here. We're going to go to this club real quick and do some dancing and stuff if you want to come. And I was like, I'd love to, but apparently your new wife told the girl I'm with that she doesn't want her there, that she needs to go, she needs to get out before she makes a scene, so we're leaving. And he kind of took a step back. He's like, what? And I was like, yeah. So neither one of us want to be part of that. And having been at his birthday, I knew what could happen. So I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Oops. Oh. And here we go. So I did not record this part when I came down because, you guys don't need to see all this. But there was this little group of homeless people right here that were sitting by a fire. I said hi to them, but they looked at me with suspicion. We're going to go back by them here real quick. Because, off-road. It's cool. I waved at him. That was a different dude than I saw earlier. Earlier it was a white woman and a white dude, or at least maybe Hispanic. Definitely not black. So, but yeah, point being, it might have been them off to the left-hand side there. Point being that, people make decisions. Sometimes they're good decisions. Sometimes you end up with somebody you really don't like. Because after that honeymoon phase falls off, you realize you don't have anything in common. Like, I dated a girl. This is real thing. Many, many moons ago, 2004-ish. I dated a girl. I thought I was going to marry her. She was beautiful. Not like gorgeous, but beautiful. Like, she had a beautiful personality. She was the kindest, sweetest person in the world. But she had a good sense of humor and a sharp sense of humor. And while I wish she would have bantered a little bit more, as she told me numerous times, people that like each other don't treat each other like that. I'm like, people that like each other banter and goof off and have a good time. Like, that's how you know you like each other. Like, you can be yourself around them. But she grew up in a very controlling, very cult-like family where, as a 22-year-old, and I was 28, her father called me and tried to treat me like I was a 16-year-old punk taking his daughter out on a date. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, trying to tell me I had to come over every time I wanted to take her out and ask his permission to take her out. How I had to pick her up at his front doorstep every time and return her to him every time. I'm like, she's an adult. I'm an adult. This is 2006 or 2007, 5, whenever it was. Not 1952. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he said some stuff to me. I put him in his place. And last time he ever spoke to me. But I really thought I was going to marry her. But then one day she and I were hanging out, and I realized she had stopped saying certain things to me that she had said in the past. Nothing serious, just, she stopped saying, oh, I wish you wouldn't do that, and, I don't like it when you say certain things or whatever. And I was like, so you're not acting like yourself these days. Like, what happened? She goes, oh, well, I want to be the woman that you want. And I was like, sweetie, I want you to be yourself. That's all I want. I want you to be yourself, unencumbered by what anybody else thinks, what I think, what your parents think. I want to know the real you. And I'm thinking, I'm demonstrating to her that I am interested in her and who she is as a person, regardless of how she was raised or how she thinks I want to be and how she thinks I want her to be, etc. But apparently she took that to mean she needs to go back to being the person her father wanted her to be. So she started acting a certain way and, not just calling me out for bantering or being a goofy good time, but for not being Christian enough, not being, this or that, or not treating her like a 1948 housewife or whatever. And she, we actually ended up breaking up shortly thereafter. So it's kind of my fault, because I thought I was helping her be who she was destined to be. And she took that advice and decided to sink back into who she was. And instead of growing, she regressed, in my opinion. And we ended up breaking up because, while we talked about getting married, we had different ideas about what that entailed. I said it means we're partners and we do things. I want to travel the world. I want to see things. I want to explore. I want to have a lot of experiences. And she wanted to be a semi-stay-at-home mom. She wanted to be pregnant all the time. She never wanted to be not pregnant. She wanted like 9 kids. And I was like, 2, 3 if one's a twin. And she's like, nope, I want them all. I want a big family. And I was like, no, I want to be able to go on vacation. I want to be able to do things. And she's like, oh, we still can. And I was like, you can't drop off 8, 9 kids at a grandparent's house and say, see you next month. Sorry, you just can't. It wouldn't be fair to anybody. And it wouldn't be fair to split the kids up between households either, because then they come back with different experiences. You send a couple of kids to my parents' or my brother's house or something, and they come back with completely different experiences than their brothers and sisters who went to her parents' house or her brothers and sisters' houses. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, we were allowed to do this, we were allowed to do that. No, we had to sit at the dinner table every night and, pray before, every time the clock struck 00, that kind of thing. So yeah, we did not last. But that's my point, is that, you need to be with somebody who you're mentally and, compatible with, not somebody who just looks good or who says the right things at the right time. You need to know who you're with. And I think that's how a lot of relationships either end up in disgruntled relationships, or somebody ends up, an alcoholic, or, they start taking drugs or whatever because they hate going home. They hate their spouse. Or maybe they hate their kids. I mean, that doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. So, what time is it? All right. Yeah, you guys know that I'm about a mile and a half from where I need to be. So I only went down this little side road here to finish talking real quick. So I'm going to let you go. If you're in a relationship, looking for a relationship, or, considering a relationship, you have to, be on the same page as the person you're with. There's always give and take in a relationship. But when you're giving everything and your partner's not, it's time to reevaluate. If your give and take is not something that's acceptable, then it's time to talk to your partner. If you just, hate being with your partner, it's time to talk to your partner. I've seen so many people who got married or who got in relationships just because they didn't want to be alone, and they were miserable the whole time, and that is unacceptable. Luckily, so I'm looking at this for sale vehicle over here. I wanted to see if they had a price on it. I think it says like $3,000. It's a little van. I was thinking, I'll show you. I was thinking it'd be fun to buy and convert to like a little, travel van or something. It's a Chevy Astro van. They're usually all-wheel drive. They're built on the S10 framework. They have V6s. But yeah, it'd be fun to make it a little van life travel van or something. if it was a little bit less expensive. It was $2,000 maybe, 1,500 definitely. Oh, I'm going the wrong way suddenly. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go, but just, you know, make smart decisions. That's all I'm saying. Think about things. And we will talk again later. Not sure when. Today's 70. I think this weekend's only supposed to be in the 70s. Nary a chance of rain, even though it's overcast. But next week should be back into the 80s. But there's a car show going on this weekend. There's the Rock and Gem show going on this weekend. There's a few other end of summer type festivals and stuff going on. So we'll see what I end up doing. Plus, I got to get those photos and stuff done for that photo shoot, which I had planned on doing this afternoon as soon as I could. So, or as soon as I'm done with lunch and stuff, I'll probably sit down and try to do some of that. All right, cool. As I've already said like twice now, you guys have fun. Thanks for coming along, and we will hang out again later. Have a great day.